Bum, 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 bum.
I thought you told me I was going to do a lead-in. Why do we do all this planning when you jump in when you tell me I'm good at the lead-ins? Yes, this is Sports Frenzy 2.0, your favorite.
I was trying to get you to say the phrase.
Yes, we'll keep that in. Nothing like starting off with a train wreck. I'm the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the conquistador, Dave Height.
Welcome to Sports Frenzy 2.0, September the 1st, 2021. And as you could hopefully tell by Dave's little musical interlude, it is finally time for football to take over our podcast.
Yes, September begins the onslaught of the pigskin.
We've had a couple college games. Now we get a full slate coming up starting tomorrow night into the weekend all through Monday. And then the pros will take over the following Thursday. So we have our picks. We have football picks to go over. We kind of took last weekend's week 0 off.
Yeah,
really not much to...
Really? Did anybody expect Nebraska to actually beat Illinois?
Yeah, boy. This is what I'm hearing a lot of as the fallout of this loss for Nebraska. Isn't just that Frost is probably done already as head coach, but they're saying this should be a cautionary tale for Texas and Oklahoma.
Yes, it should
be. For what they can expect when they move to the SEC, because when Nebraska left to go to the Big Ten, look how far that program has fallen.
Yeah, they were expected to rule the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
They were expected to rival Michigan and Ohio State year in and year out, and they fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah, they're bottom feeders now, basically.
Yeah. And did you ever think Nebraska would have fallen that far that quickly?
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad. And, I liked the hire Frost, Nebraska guy coming back home after really putting UCF on the map.
Yeah.
And just the abject failure of
recruit.
Of his reign there right now. It's pretty sad. It is really, really sad.
Yeah. And they really, to maintain their consecutive sellout streak at 376 games, this is a really bad way to continue it. Generous donors bought out the remaining tickets as part of the red carpet experience they have for kids in 8th grade or under, where they'll give the tickets away and provide them with a small meal as a chance to experience a college game. But there were a couple thousand tickets left that generous donors bought. Yeah, no, the school had to give them away to maintain this sellout. Let's not kid ourselves here, people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when you lose a game like this, this is just...
It's a bad Illinois team with a new coach.
Back. You're not bouncing back from this. I'm sorry. I know it's only week 0, but you're not bouncing back from this.
No.
This would be like next weekend. Let's ignore the Florida State Notre Dame game. Let's say that'd be like next weekend Notre Dame losing to Toledo. I mean, right off the bat, you're like, oh crap, the season's pretty much shot.
Yeah.
There's some losses you can't come back from no matter how early in the season they are.
Yeah, and this one is detrimental to that program overall.
Yep. Some other little college headlines and tidbits before we move on. We'll talk some NFL, and then we will go into our picks. We won't give you every single one. If you want to see every single pick,
check out the Facebook page.
That's right. But we do have our tiebreaker season predictions that'll be interesting to go through.
Yep.
Although since it is college football, they're pretty
generic,
boring, the same across the board almost.
Pretty much.
The Pac-12, despite the new alliance with the ACC and the Big Ten, say they will not expand. So there you go. There you go, Big 12. That means all those teams out there.
Everybody in the WAC.
You go get them.
They're fair game for you.
Yep. I, for one, don't want to see the Big 12 go down in flames.
No.
Now, if I could see the entire college football landscape
go up in smoke.
Right.
That's what we're hoping for.
Sorry, other people on the West Coast. It's probably a bad turn of phrase.
Yeah, but it's appropriate because the main part of the problem is again being shown by Texas A&M, giving Jimbo frickin' Fisher an extension through 2030. Average salary now is over $9 million a year, second only to Saban. And this guy's won one freaking championship.
And he pretty much left Florida State in shambles.
Yeah.
When he jumped ship and went over with the Aggies.
Yeah, he saw the writing on the wall that Florida State was spiraling, and he bailed on them and went to the Aggies, and now they're contributing more to the problem.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you that this guy does not warrant to be the second highest paid college football head coach. He just doesn't.
No, not even close. And now, what's Clemson going to do to keep Dabo?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
You're going to get one of those.
This is absolutely stupid money for college sports.
Yep. And then who's going to be the next one? Ed Orgeron probably is going to want more money.
There's another train wreck of a coach.
Brian Kelly's going to want more money. It's gonna filter on through, you know.
Yeah, it's absolutely stupid.
For Ohio State's gonna want more.
Yeah, Michigan sure as hell isn't gonna give Harbaugh anymore.
You would hope not. All right, so in the pros, final cutdowns are in. The rosters are set. There were some injuries of note, COVID related and non-COVID related.
Yep.
Of course, the big headline for the week is that Cam Newton was released by the Patriots.
Yes, Belichick decided to go with the rookie Mac Jones as his starter. Kind of a surprise move there.
Yeah, I should have shown this to you. Got a great story this morning on my daily Yahoo Sports newsletter. And I do give them credit. Some of the ideas I come up with or some of these things we talk about come directly from their newsletter. I mean, most of it, they're reporting the headlines.
Yeah.
But this was a commentary piece on the whole Mac Jones thing. And it basically was praising the Patriots and Bill Belichick. And the writer said, let's compare them to the Chicago Bears. And basically,
for an abject disaster.
He basically had a picture, point A, point B, Patriots logo, straight line.
Yeah.
Point A, point B, Bears logo, goes all around, up and down in circles, round and round.
Squiggly lines everywhere.
Saying basically the Patriots, decisive.
Know what the hell they want to do.
Know who they wanted, got him when they wanted him. Now it's time.
Yep.
Bears have to play, of course, we've talked about this in the past week or two, play these games.
God.
Well, we have to start Andy Dalton. We have to do this, you know.
We're trying to protect. No, bull crap. Yep. You put the player on the field who gives you the best chance to win.
And again, this is why this article was so well written and so brilliant, is that compare Belichick and Mac Jones to the Bears and Justin Fields.
Yeah.
And how they're handling
abject
the situation.
Disaster.
Yep.
I mean, my God, the Bears are acting like by delaying his start, they maintain control for an extra period of time.
It's not Chris Bryant and the Cubs. Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, there's no arbitration involved here.
No. Other than abject
no years
stupidity.
Of service that influence when you get to be a free agent. Yeah. So.
And it's nothing to do with Cam's vaccination record.
Yeah, and that was another topic that popped up. But the part of it that I found really funny was, of course, Belichick handled it the right way. But then we have to go to Urban Meyer,
who opened his big mouth saying, well, we took vaccine status into consideration for the cuts.
And then
the
Players Association jumped on that.
Investigate.
Like a lion on a piece of gazelle meat. I mean, yeah.
And the NFL, like, we have a rule. You cannot do this.
Well, now the NFL, Urban Meyer should never have opened his yap, but the NFL's kind of, in this case, talking out both sides of their mouth.
They are.
They've been hammering it, saying, we've got to get everybody vaccinated. But Urban Meyer speaks the ugly truth. Not supposed to, but he did.
Because teams want players who are vaccinated, because if anybody has to miss, they can't field a team, they have to forfeit.
And pay.
All
the expenses for the other team.
Yeah.
Don't forget that part of it, kids. Yeah. So, again, the NFL can sit there and go shame, pick on Urban Meyer. He's the new guy on the block. He's the stupid college coach trying to make it in the NFL.
But he's the one who spoke what everybody's thinking and everybody's doing.
If it comes down on the 53rd man on the roster to a guy who's vaccinated versus a guy who's not.
Guess what, kids?
Yeah, that might actually come into play in the decision making. Of course, Carson Wentz just looked like he was going to be coming back for the Colts off that foot surgery, and then he gets COVID.
You know, Reich, Bears still have Foles out there for you.
Yeah, boy, we got about a week to unload him, don't we? About a week. And then the funny thing about Cam Newton is you really can't go after him, I've heard, until after week 2.
Right, because of the timing.
Right. If you try to pick him up now or through the first week or 2 of the season, you have to pick up his entire fully guaranteed contract.
Right.
Whereas if you wait till after week 2, then I think you can sign him to like a veteran minimum.
Right. Yeah.
So don't be shocked
if he sits out there for a few weeks.
Right.
Kids.
It doesn't mean it's the end for him. It could be.
Maybe it is, but the smart bet, somebody will wait so they don't have to pay that salary.
Yeah. Maybe the Miami Dolphins will go after him because Miami seems to want in on everybody's quarterback.
I know.
Here the rumors they're back in again on Deshaun Watson.
No, that was a rumor, and the owner Ross has come out and said, "No, I did not say I wanted to go after Watson. I'm all in with Tua." And so Flores is there at the team meeting saying, "Tua is our starter. We are not looking at anybody else." And let's face it, Watson is probably the last person you want to look at right now.
Oh, and especially since the Texans really haven't dropped the price for what they want for him.
They still want the world for him. They have to keep him on the roster because they can't release him because it would be too big of a hit. They can't put him on any kind of list at this point because he's not injured. He hasn't been disciplined officially. Nobody will trade. So basically, you're paying him to be a healthy scratch for the season.
So you don't think they're even going to play him?
Not what they were talking.
Wow.
They are talking about he will probably be a healthy scratch because he's not even practicing.
I thought maybe they'd ride it out until somebody, whether it's the legal system or the NFL front office, actually disciplined him.
No, right now, he's not even traveling with the team.
Well, there you go, Cam. They can go through Tyrod Taylor, that fun show for a couple weeks, and then bring Cam in.
Yeah.
Of course, our beloved Bears, their final cuts, thinned out their secondary, which was already thin to begin with. They got rid of Trufant and Artie Burns.
Yeah.
So now they're going to have to scramble out there with all these cut players and find some guys to bring in because they have really right now on paper one of the worst secondaries in football.
It's awful.
Yeah, because for some reason we couldn't keep Kyle Fuller.
Yeah, and we're carrying 5 tight ends.
What is the obsession with the Chicago Bears and tight ends?
They don't use them. I don't get it.
Oh, my God.
And Rodney Adams, the young receiver that we were giddy about, who had developing rapport with Justin Fields, made the cut.
Right, I was going to say.
But today, they released him. They put him on waivers because they frickin' signed Brashad Perriman.
Oh, yeah, because Perriman got cut.
And Simba Webster they picked up. Why are you cutting Adams to pick up frickin' Simba Webster?
Wow. Okay. Well, you got the scoop on me on that. I did not know about the
That
Perriman
came
deal.
Late. That came late this afternoon.
Sticking with the wide receivers,
oh my God.
I just want to point this out since I have done my complete 180 on Ryan Pace and will no longer defend him. Did you actually see who else got cut?
Yeah.
Riley
Ridley.
2019 fourth round pick already gone.
Yep.
That's a waste. A fourth round pick
absolute
should
disaster.
not be out in 2 years.
No, that was insane. No.
Another great pick from Ryan Pace.
Dumbass. No, I don't mind Perriman because it gives you speed on the outside.
He is a tough one to read. He will go to sleep on you and just not do anything, and then
all of a sudden
he'll
shows
have
up.
Like a 6 or 8 game run where he's an all pro.
Yeah,
he
can't pull his head out of his ass to be consistent.
Right.
So it's a boom or bust situation. But why would you pick up Simba Webster? He hasn't done shit with the Niners in the 2 or 3 years he was there.
No, I agree with you. I again did not see this new development. All I know is that I looked at the initial cut list and saw that he had made it.
Yeah.
He'd made it through the cuts.
I was thrilled. And then late this afternoon, I'm seeing this bullshit. And I'm like, you've got to be freaking kidding me.
Oh, my God.
Now they're hoping they can get Adams to clear waivers to have him on the practice squad.
Oh, yeah. How many times have we heard that before? And somebody always swoops in and gets him.
Yeah.
Somebody always swoops in and takes the guy that we always say that about. Always.
Frustrating as hell.
There was one quarterback on the move. Unfortunately, it was not Nick Foles. Gardner Minshew goes to the Eagles for a 6th round pick. Now, I don't understand the hatred of Gardner Minshew. I actually like the guy. I liked
Minshew.
I think this is a good move for the Eagles. I really do.
He's going to wind up being their starter about halfway through the season.
Do you think Hurts gets hurt?
Could very well be, or he struggles. And the Min stash takes over.
Yeah, I wonder what kind of what they're going to come up with for some kind of a Philadelphia slogan for him,
Yeah. No, good for Minshew. I think it gives him a better chance up there.
I hope he gets a chance. I know I get locked in on a couple guys. I like him. I also don't understand why nobody wants Nick Mullins. I thought he looked phenomenal as a backup for the 49ers. Nobody likes him. I don't get it. I would love to have him as a backup. I don't know. They're seeing stuff that I'm not seeing in some of these guys. I guess I'm seeing stuff in these guys that they're not seeing.
We don't see the weekly game prep.
I know. But then again, when you got Ryan Pace,
and Matt Nagy making decisions.
Could we really be that much worse?
I do not think we could.
All right, real quick here, wrapping up the NFL for the week before we get to our picks. The big injury of the week was J.K. Dobbins, the Ravens running back, 2nd year. This was going to be his breakout year because he was sharing time with Mark Ingram last year.
Yeah, and he was supposed to be the featured back. Ouch.
Blows out his knee, done for the season. Now it's all Gus Edwards, who I pounced on in fantasy. I had to go out and get him, basically because I needed a running back. But we'll see. We'll see how this impacts the Ravens. I'm not high on the Ravens, and we'll talk more about our pro predictions in our next podcast.
Yep.
And then finally, of course, New Orleans hit again with another devastating hurricane.
Thoughts and prayers to everybody down there.
Yeah, Ida ripped through there. Supposedly, the Mercedes-Benz Superdome came out pretty good.
Yeah, they didn't have the massive flooding like they did with Katrina. Right. It was a lot of wind damage from this go round.
But it's up in the air as to when the Saints will actually be able to have a home football game.
Yeah, because of the power situation down there.
Right, so they will host, quote unquote, Green Bay in Jacksonville for week 1.
Yeah.
All right, kids. First time ever on the podcast. It is time for Sports Frenzy's football picks. Our panel of 8 have submitted their picks. Of course, the deadline isn't here yet, so we don't have all our picks in, but that's cool. We're going to talk first about our 2021 NCAA football predictions, the 4 teams that will make the playoffs this year. Of course, that could be changing in the next year or two.
Yeah.
And then, of course, who's going to win the whole thing? Across the board, we got 7 of our 8 panelists in. All 7 take Alabama as one of the 4. All 7 take Clemson as one of the 4. So right there.
It kind of tells you where we're at.
5 of the 7 of us who've got our picks in right now have Oklahoma. We've got 4 Ohio State, 3 Georgias, and 2 Notre Dames. I think that covers it all.
Yep.
And that seems to me to be about right.
Yeah, those are probably your top 6.
Yeah. Yep. And then, of course, champion-wise, I'm taking Alabama to win the whole thing.
I'm taking Oklahoma.
Elder Statesman, the Big Blue W, and the Big Easy take Alabama. Every year, Doug takes Notre Dame.
Yeah.
The governor. And
Mrs. C will probably go there as well.
Yeah, and Nick, the juggler, takes Ohio State to win the whole thing.
Yeah, snooze fest.
Jesus God. This is what we were talking about at the beginning of this segment. Blow the whole thing up. This is boring.
It sucks.
God, baseball is better than this. With the Dodgers and the Yankees every year. You know, God, at least there's a little bit of hope for San Diego to get in there.
Yeah.
You know, or
San Francisco.
Right. I mean,
Tampa's been ruling the roost in the East.
There is just no hope for anything other than the same old right now in college football. All right, on to the games. We got 15 games slated for this week. We're not going to go through all of them. As Dave astutely mentioned, check out our Facebook page. These will be posted probably late Thursday, early Friday. The games we should talk about, let's talk about the big games with 2 ranked opponents involved.
Yeah.
So on Saturday, September the 4th, we've got number 19 Penn State at number 12 Wisconsin. And by the way, we always go with the AP rankings.
Yes.
Even when the BCS rankings come out, the BS rankings.
Yes.
We stick with the AP rankings. The AP has always been, in my opinion, the best, most reliable.
Yeah, they've been the most consistent.
So, number 19, Penn State at number 12, Wisconsin. We've all got Wisconsin winning except for Doug. He's going Penn State. A lot of these teams on the slate this week, I'm going to call teams I don't trust.
Yeah, there's a few of them in there.
Penn State is one of them.
Yeah, I know.
I can't trust Penn State. I like Franklin as a head coach, but
pedophile
Wisconsin will do what they always do. They'll steamroll through the early part of their schedule, and then they'll get beat up by Ohio State, and then they'll get beat in their bowl game.
Yeah,
they'll finish with 2 losses. They'll finish somewhere between 9 and 13 in the final poll.
Yep, and especially with them being at the home opener.
Yep.
Give them the edge.
Number 17, Indiana. At number 18, Iowa. Again, not so much with Penn State. Penn State has got a long tradition of football excellence. Indiana, I would say they're another team I don't trust, but it's because I have a small sample size to go by.
They had last year as their breakout season, finally, and they're expected to continue to do well. At this point, I don't trust them enough going on the road right away to Iowa. It's a tough environment.
Right. We've all got Iowa except right now Nick and Doug went with IU. Number 23, Louisiana. At number 21, Texas. Again, Texas, another team. Can you trust them?
But Louisiana.
I love the small school. I love the small school getting ranked, getting that ranking love.
Yeah. But do they have the talent to be able to match up with Texas?
Exactly. Just the raw talent Texas should have.
Yeah, at Texas.
Right. So 5 of us have Texas. Doug and Aaron go with Louisiana. Very interesting there.
Intriguing.
Of course, the final one we're going to talk about, the knockdown, drag-out, huge game for the first week of college football. I mean, this is a nice little present to get us going on this first full Saturday.
This is unbelievable to have a matchup like this one.
Neutral site game, number 5, Georgia, and number 3, Clemson. This will dictate a lot about who makes that final four that we were talking about a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
And this is exactly why I took Clemson and kept Georgia out, is because obviously I'm taking Clemson.
As am I, even though
everybody's taking Clemson except Doug is going Georgia.
Yeah.
If Georgia does not pull this off, Clemson could survive losing this.
They could.
Clemson could survive, run through the ACC unscathed,
and still manage to sneak in
with one loss. Georgia loses this,
they're pretty much hosed because odds are they are going to lose again in the SEC.
Right. Yeah, at some point they'll have to play Alabama. I haven't looked at their schedule to see if they're actually on the slate or they'd have to play them in the SEC championship game if they got that far.
The odds would be against them.
Right. And of course our favorite teams, Notre Dame, your Notre Dame Fighting Irish, number 9, going down to Tallahassee to play Florida State. Again, yep. Florida State, another one of these teams right now
that
can't trust them.
No, they're on the edge.
Yeah, that program needs a big year, and I don't think it's in them. I just don't think they've got it in them right now.
No, the talent level isn't, as we mentioned, talent level means everything, and it's not quite there.
Right, and the coaching's not there either.
No.
Ever since Bobby Bowden left, and we just talked about Jimbo Fisher.
He had that one good year, and then the team went sideways.
Yeah, I don't think he's all that in a bag of chips. And it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And that seems to be a pattern with a lot of these college programs. Notre Dame went through it after Lou Holtz for a while. It got worse
the Bob
and worse
Davey
and worse and worse.
And Ty Willingham.
Right.
And the Charlie Weiss fiasco.
And then at some point, hopefully, they're going to find that guy who's going to raise you back up again, kind of like what Clemson did with Dabo Swinney.
Yeah.
Of course, everybody's taking Notre Dame out of the 7 that have got their picks in so far.
And I can solidly state Mrs. C will be taking them as well.
And then we don't even have this one on the slate because the new point spread rule we've enacted, the Maestro cannot put any games on the slate, if at all humanly possible, with a point spread 10 or greater.
That's right.
Those are the rules I'm working with now, kids. So I could not put my beloved Miami Hurricanes on the slate this week. Wait a minute. I didn't want to.
No,
because I'll be reminded again and again of the shellacking that Alabama is going to give them. So that's okay. I'm fine with that.
What is the point spread?
Oh, God.
40?
No, I think it's around 20.
Oh,
somewhere floating
that
around
low,
20 somewhere. Yeah. So there you go, kids. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. The first week of football picks. Next week we'll have more college and our pro predictions and week 1 picks.
That's right.
But for now, we're going to take a break, give you a promo, and then we're going to be back with baseball and NASCAR.
This is Coach K, and after my retirement from college basketball, I plan to become an analyst on Sports Frenzy 2.0 with the Maestro and the Conquistador every Thursday on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, Overcast, and Castbox. And don't forget to check out our Facebook page.
Welcome back to the baseball segment of Sports Frenzy 2.0. I'm the Conquistador Dave Height.
And I'm the Maestro Kevin Crane.
And here we are on September 1st. This will hit on the 2nd. All right. Baseball time.
Well, I think we have to discuss the 3 games the Cubs and the White Sox just played and how freaking bizarre those 3 games were.
I have no words for that series.
A slugfest.
A drubbing.
A drubbing, and then
a drubbing.
Yeah, a pitching miracle from Alec Mills.
Yeah, shutting the Sox out.
Yeah.
Was just bizarre in the second game.
The Cubs have not seen a pitching performance like that in well over a month.
Yeah.
Because Kyle Hendricks has not been pitching well, and everybody else is just, guys they bring in off the street,
Yeah. And here you would have thought maybe Hendricks could have followed that up, but he got absolutely shellacked in Sunday's game.
Yeah, I know. I watched a little bit of that one and early on, and then when I saw them go down 3-0, I could just tell he didn't have it.
Yeah, and it just progressively got worse.
Yeah, so you got 2 out of 3. Should have had 3.
Should have had 3. I don't know. The offense just completely imploded on Saturday.
Yasmani Grandal in that first game.
First game back, Jacks 2.
8 RBIs. Jesus God.
Yeah, in his first 4 games back, he's had 4 home runs. Saturday was the only one that he didn't get one. He has picked up where he left off.
And I think I mentioned this to you. Maybe, I can't remember if it was during the show last week or off air. But I told you Patrick Wisdom was going to end up being the man who leads the league or leads the Cubs in home runs this year. It's going to be a trivia question someday. And he jacked, I think, 4 in those 3 games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously, where did this guy come from? Isn't he the oldest rookie?
He is old. Yeah, they've got a lot of old rookies. Schwindel is an old rookie. Hermosillo, I think, is fairly old. I mean, these are guys that were selling hats and T-shirts outside
to keep
on
the
Waveland.
Bus going.
Yeah.
At AAA.
So,
crazy.
I lived through something similar to this with the Orlando Magic when I was down there earlier in my life, back when I was a younger, more optimistic, less angry person. And this was after.
Were you really that less angry?
Probably not. No. And by the way, nice segue. If you want to hear me really go ballistic, check out the weekend edition. I am going to destroy Hollywood this week.
He's already got smoke coming out of his ears.
And let's put it this way. If we had done this show yesterday, I literally would have needed an ambulance parked outside the studio. I really would have. Today, I'm a little bit calmer, a little bit more perspective, but still furious.
There you go.
But again, with the Magic, after Shaq left, all the big stars from that championship run in the early 90s, after they left.
The Shaq, Penny.
Yeah, they had Darryl Armstrong, and they had a bunch of basically bench players, and they ended up playing solid basketball. They were a 500 team, and the fans loved them just because no prima donnas, no overpaid crybabies.
Yeah, they were scrappy, and they laid it all on the line, game in, game out.
So in a way, I'm kind of looking at this Cubs team like that. I'm trying to find the positives. Wisdom, of course, Ortega. The pitching is just killing us, though. I mean, they're able to put up a decent amount of runs, but the pitching staff is just awful right now.
Yeah, that's been pretty
Mills'
brutal.
performance against the White Sox was just a miracle.
Yeah. Yes, it was. So the Sox sitting at 77-56, still 10 up on the Indians as we tape here. Injuries are starting to rear their ugly head again on the south side. Lance Lynn is on the IL now with knee soreness. Tim Anderson has been put on the 10-day IL with a hamstring issue. That's retroactive a few days. And then Giolito, in last night's game on the August 31st, went to field a little bloop semi bunt, and his legs slid on the grass to complete, and he got the throw, and it was late. But he limped off of that, and then 2 pitches later, landing on that leg, it locked up on him, and he was really limping after that one, and they pulled him. So possibly a hamstring. They don't know yet, so we'll have to wait and see over the next couple days what's going to happen with him. But I guess if you're going to have them before the playoffs, this is the time, a month before they begin.
Yep.
So
get them out of the way.
Yeah.
Give them time to heal up. That's what when I heard about Giolito, that's the first thing that I started reading was this is the right time for this to happen. They can really treat him with kid gloves.
Yeah.
And they've got plenty of games
we've got
in the bank in terms of a lead.
We should be okay. Hopefully that will work. The pitching's been our big strength.
The only thing I would say is you're probably looking at the 3rd seed.
Oh, yeah.
I don't, the way Tampa Bay's playing right now, holy moly, you're not catching them.
We're not going to catch them. And
Houston is healthy enough where they can probably get that 2 slot in the AL.
Yeah, they're going to get us. So
all right,
we're stuck back. But as long as we can get in and be healthy when we're there.
Yep.
That's going to be the big thing.
Yeah, it's all timing. Maybe this is a blessing in disguise. When we talk about NASCAR and my horrendous, terrible luck, get it out of the way now before things start mattering when you get to the playoffs. All right, we got one final baseball topic. There is a big looming discussion we're going to have about a certain National League team in the Northeast. But I think we've decided it's going to be a triple play.
It's a triple play dumbass.
So we're going to save it. We're not going to talk about it here.
We have to save it because it ties into the dumbass segment so well.
Yeah, I think our entire 3rd segment is just going to be Red Foreman dumbasses.
It'd be pretty damn close on that.
But I do want to give props to your former pitcher, Chris Sale. He's been really good since he finally got off the IL, recovering.
Yeah, coming back from Tommy John.
Right. He tied an MLB record with his 3rd career immaculate inning.
Yeah, unbelievable.
The great Sandy Koufax.
Yeah, so another lefty.
Yeah, and the thing that shocks me.
No, wait, is Sale a lefty?
Yeah, Sale's a lefty.
That's what. Yeah.
The thing that shocks me about the Red Sox is they get Sale back. He looks sharp right out of the gate.
And the offense struggles mightily, and the other pitchers can't do anything.
Yeah, then they start scuffling. They had a little run there last week for us. We picked them, and they did well last week, but then they hit Tampa, and they've already lost 2. Hopefully Sale will be the stopper tonight.
Yeah.
Because Tampa's on a roll. Thank goodness.
Since you picked them and frickin' Reds decide to crap the bed a couple games against the damn Cardinals.
Yeah, weather didn't help you. And I have to admit that was part of the reason why I stayed away from the Reds is because I actually was looking at the hurricane track, and I was like, they could end up losing a game or 2 because of the weather. And they almost did.
Yeah. No, I just didn't see much other choice. And looking a few weeks down the line at future schedules, I'm having to start to do that to plot out.
Yep. Yeah, I've done that partially. I've still got a couple weeks where I can be a little flexible. But
Yeah.
But yeah, basically Dave and I in our baseball competition, I know we don't talk about it as much as we do with, our NASCAR, our Frenzy Cup, now with our football picks, and of course fantasy football coming up, which again, that'll be something we get more into next week as we get ready to set our rosters and our lineups for our first week of our season. But Dave and I in our baseball competition have pretty much been out front for most of the year with little or no competition.
Yeah.
Bill was up there for a while early on, and he's faded.
Yeah, the next closest to us is
Aaron right now.
10 back.
Yeah, at least 10 back. So yeah, Dave and I have been kind of like outpacing everybody else, and so we're just kind of biding our time for our big knockdown drag out last month.
Yeah,
to see who's gonna end up being on top. We're talking number 1 and number 2, but who's gonna be number
where?
1? Who's gonna be number 2? I'm usually number 2.
And there you go.
Ba-doom-ba. But yeah, like Dave was saying, the Reds have stumbled this week so far. The Rays have kept going. They're still hot. So I have closed the gap right now as we're doing this to 1 game.
Yes. Ugh. It's killing me this week, Reds.
All right. So now moving on, we're going to do some NASCAR, and then we'll catch up on the other little miscellaneous tidbits of the sports world. We are heading for the playoffs in NASCAR.
Yes, we are. After the monster melee on the final lap at Daytona.
Yeah, there were 2 or 3 wrecks there towards the end, though.
But this last one took out about over half the field.
Yeah.
Wound up in it.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I did not get to witness it live. I had a wedding and reception that I had to attend on Saturday.
But the Conquistador scored his second win of the year.
Finally got me my second.
And of course, I said something last week about going back to back because it is kind of a rarity nowadays in NASCAR.
Especially this season.
Right. But he was right. He was the man. So now we reseed as we go into our playoffs for our Frenzy Cup. As I mentioned here, recently I am on a streak of incredibly bad luck after having a really solid first 20 races.
Yeah, you just kind of
I've got DNFs all over the place. Let's look back at the last 5 races, shall we? So we can talk about how awful the Maestro has been. And I plummeted, kids. I dropped to last place in points. Now, with us, it doesn't matter.
No.
It matters how many wins you got. Points do matter as long as you're above the 10th place cut line, who was Brad Keselowski for the better part of the second half of the NASCAR regular season.
Yeah, and thankfully, he was bad because that helped both of us. Because I was mired behind everybody all season until the end.
Let's put it this way. Dave got 45 points with Ryan Blaney in race 26 this past weekend at Daytona. My last 5 races, I have gotten 43 points.
There's perspective.
That is how bad I have been doing, but I did get 4 wins early on.
Yep, that really helped you.
So that put me in a tie for the lead here as we go into our playoffs.
Yeah, and
all we do is give 3 points per win. That is all. That's how we reset.
Yeah, we don't add the playoff points in at this point.
Right. So it's just I get 12 extra points. Dave gets 6 for 2 wins.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're having somebody who's going to be way out in front. It's going to stay pretty tight. So it's still going to be anyone's race.
Yeah.
For these last 10 contests.
Yeah. See, where you were bit late in the season, I was bit by bad luck earlier in the season where I had people contending for the wins that got taken out by various things.
Yep. So, again, we all made it. We kind of tweaked our point system this year. It worked. It worked fine. We'll keep it probably for next year.
We used to remain within top
12.
6 or the top 12.
We
yes,
did 12.
We did 12. We wanted to
when they went to 16,
little...
when they had 12, and then we kept that. But then when they expanded to 16,
we kept the 12.
We kept the 12. Now we decided it was getting a little too easy to make the playoffs. We wanted to make it a little more challenging, so we dropped it to 10. But we also do add in a point for stage wins to try to help out during the regular season. We will not do that for the playoffs.
No. And I think I'm going to make the bid to put the playoff points to the playoffs for our reseeding next year.
Oh, God. You're going to have to take over then. I'm not doing that. I am not doing that.
I've got that point covered for the reseeding. I've got it all ready in my spreadsheets.
Yeah, but the thing is, the only thing I'm worried about is... But
then that's going to be a huge difference.
These guys
between...
already hate NASCAR as
You're right.
it is.
All right, we won't go there.
They are not going to know what the frick we're doing. You and I will know. Sam, I don't even know if Sam would get it. And he's a NASCAR fan.
All right, we'll dumb it down.
I think we got to. We got to do that on all of them. You know, we got to keep people interested. We got to make sure they understand the rules. You know, it's hard enough for them to get their picks in, David.
All right, fine.
Speaking of which, the Conquistador had to take over this week for me since I was a leader and I have to submit my leader's pick to the group.
Yep. I had to take the 3 tied at the top.
Right. Me, Doug, and Aaron had to submit our picks separately to the Conquistador. We've got 7 of the 8 picks in now. Of course, great minds think alike. So Dave and I have both gone with Martin Truex Jr.
I had him penciled in before I got yours.
Right. Doug and Aaron both went with Kevin Harvick, as did Nick.
Yep.
So,
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, normally he's really good at Darlington, but this year has been so bad and so disappointing. Again, you got to change your way of thinking for these last 10 races. You got to think about, and this is where I'm going to criticize Sam and Bill.
Taking Larson too soon?
Odds are Kyle Larson is going to be into the chase very, very late.
Yes.
If he doesn't make the final race, he will probably get at least to 7, 8, 9 as a contender. I am not ready to burn him yet.
That is where I was going as well. I hated to burn Truex too early, but I wanted to get some points right off the bat.
Yeah, and I'm not going to worry too much if we fall behind a little bit here because of Larson. I fully expect Larson to have a great race. So if Sam and Bill jump out into a little bit of a lead, that's fine. Then we get an advantage. We get to find out who they pick and can counter with what they're doing. I agree with you. I was a little bit hesitant to take Truex, but again, he's been scuffling lately too.
I know.
So there's no guarantee he's going to make it past the first or second round.
Right. I think really, other than having him penciled in, there's only one that I am truly set in stone on.
I bet I know which one that is.
Which is probably where you are as well, along with everybody else.
Yes. It's just going to require patience.
Yes.
Do people have the patience to do what you and I are mentally
preparing
ping-ponging back and forth right now? Because I know what you're saying. You know what I'm thinking. So there you go. There's our picks for the Cookout Southern 500, the first playoff race of the Cup Series for 2021 at Darlington.
Yep. Other big news, Kurt Busch is taking his Monster Energy sponsorship to 2311 Racing to team up with Bubba Wallace.
That is right. And he will be number 45.
Yep.
And I just heard today that they are trying to get Front Row's charter to give to Kurt Busch. Michael McDowell claims he has a full-time ride for next year, but rumor is it will be an Xfinity and or truck.
Yeah. So Front Row seems to be taking a bit of a step back.
And also taking a step back is JTG Dougherty.
Yes.
Also news came out today on that. Brad Dougherty came out and said, we're not going to try to do this whole run one team with a charter, one team without. He's basically saying one full-time team next year.
Yep.
Don't know for sure who it's going to be, but I don't think it's going to be Ryan Preece, since he was running the car that did not have a charter for JTG this year. Could be Stenhouse. Stenhouse does bring Kroger with him as a sponsor, which I would be really hard and reluctant to give up.
Right. It's tough to give up the sponsorships.
Right. So I would think he'd keep Stenhouse as that one full-time charter.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that to get the money out of that one. And then I have to say, what the hell took NASCAR so long to correct this miscarriage of racing justice? 50 years after the fact, they finally give Wendell Scott's family the trophy he deserved for his 63 victory in the Jacksonville 200.
Wow.
When it took place, Buck Baker, who finished second, was declared the winner. Hours later, they came to find out, Wendell Scott was the winner. By 2 laps, he had lapped the field twice.
And they just lost track?
I don't know. Well, the first African-American driver to win a NASCAR race in the Deep South in 63. It was 2 years before it was finally corrected in the record book that it was recognized as the win. And now, finally, the day before what would have been his 100th birthday, they finally present the trophy to the family. I'm a little pissed that it took them that damn long.
And we've been talking recently about how NASCAR has been trying to get better and trying to be more diverse. But, yeah, that's just sad. That's just another reminder of what NASCAR used to be.
Yeah.
And not necessarily a good thing.
Right.
And speaking of bad press for NASCAR, Cup Series director Jay Fabian was arrested on animal cruelty charges. From what I read, details are a little sketchy, but a couple dogs that were malnourished, that were not being taken care of properly.
Not cool.
This is your Cup Series director who did this.
Bye-bye. So long. Sayonara. Unacceptable.
Sometimes, you try to prop up a sport. You try to prop up, the competition you love that other people rip on. People love to rip on NASCAR. They do. And unfortunately, it's for reasons like what you said, and probably now for reasons of what I've said.
Yeah.
Stupidity, backwoods, back-ass thinking.
Yep.
It never,
it doesn't
just when you
change.
think it's getting better, right, it never changes. It never gets better. All right, back to recap the season here real quick before we move on. Kyle Larson was the regular season champion.
Yep.
So he gets those extra points going into the playoffs. Ryan Blaney, by virtue of his strong race 25 and race 26, will have the pole because of the formula.
The formula's
because of the
joke.
matrix.
Stupid.
So Ryan Blaney gets the pole for Darlington. Here's my last point on the Daytona race. I do want to bring this up because this could have been a unmitigated disaster. Ryan Blaney won. Again, NASCAR, very lucky that he won because second place was Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher was trying to race his way into the playoffs. He had to win to get in. He finished second initially.
Did they go back to the timing loop?
He was disqualified for failing post-race inspection.
Oh.
Can you imagine if he had won the race?
What was the reason?
Oh, God. I don't have it in front of me. But yeah, he
failed.
Was
it some BS technicality?
It wasn't BS. It sounded legit. But, I mean, it doesn't sound like he was trying to cheat either. It just...
One of those things.
Yeah, but what would have happened? Would there have been an uproar if he had gotten in at that 16th spot, and then after the race they disallow the win?
That would have been interesting.
But I apologize for not having all the information on this, but I know he was DQ'd.
Wow.
And it would have set up a major league catastrophe for NASCAR.
That could have been awful.
All right, real quick on the NBA front. Ben Simmons, after the way he played and the way he was treated there at the end of the season with Philadelphia, has officially requested he wants a trade out of the city of brotherly love. That'll be fun considering he just signed a massive extension.
Yeah, that's
good luck with that
to go.
Although I did hear rumors initially when the rumbling started up right after the playoff loss that Minnesota is really interested in getting him.
Really?
So,
that would be intriguing.
Yeah, the Timberwolves supposedly are really still high on him. And I still think he's young enough and he's still talented enough.
He could make a clean start somewhere.
But boy, he's been through a lot of coaches and it just doesn't seem to stick with him.
No, it doesn't.
Former number one pick. And I have to tell this story. It's been a meme all week, but it is so awesome and so fantastic. And I am not trying to make fun in any way of what happened with Hurricane Ida. But when there's a video out there, and I don't see how you could fake it. Guy goes into a convenience store in New Orleans. Of course, the shelves are just decimated. Everybody's grabbing everything they possibly can to hunker down.
Yeah.
There is one little section of potato chips that is completely full and untouched. It's the Anthony Davis Ruffles. And I'm not taking credit for this. This has been out there. Yahoo, I've heard it talked about on WFAN out of New York. So it's made its rounds, but it is still so funny. Oh,
God, that's hysterical.
Good for New Orleans. Good for the Pelicans fans. Good for your loyalty. I love it.
That's fantastic.
In the middle of an oncoming natural disaster where you want to stock up on as much food as possible, they still won't touch his dirty, rotten, filthy, stinking Ruffles.
Love it. All right. Shall we move on to Brooksy?
Yeah, let's get that out of the way to knock out segment 2.
Wow. DeChambeau blows a putt in sudden death playoff to lose to Patrick Cantley, yeah. And a heckler shouts out Brooksy and gets removed from the course.
And DeChambeau wanted to throw down with him, too.
Yeah, DeChambeau was pissed. He took off after the guy. Like, all right, dude, mellow out a little bit. I get it. But come on. You've got to expect stuff like that to happen. And the PGA is now going to ban Brooksy from being shouted because they have to have respect on the course. I'm like, really?
Okay, you and I,
really?
We don't have a lot of time to argue this point, but I think this is one where you and I might actually disagree. It happens.
We might. It happens.
I don't have a problem with them. It's not just the Brooksy thing. Don't get me wrong. I don't. In the grand scheme of things, I kind of like this. Pissing off DeChambeau is awesome. And by the way, these two, Koepka and DeChambeau, have agreed to put their quote-unquote feud on hold for the Ryder Cup.
Right.
I hate these drunk idiot golf fans. Get in the hole! Bubba Boy! Yeah, I literally would love to see DeChambeau take one of those idiots out.
Yeah. That stuff is stupid. But if it's something
this is a little bit more creative.
If it's something creative and fun, I don't have a problem with it. And this is better than your frickin' golfers who are dropping F-bombs out on the course.
Tiger Woods! God, hasn't golf been great? Hasn't golf been great without him? My God.
It's been fun.
This whole DeChambeau Koepka thing is 10 times more fun than anything, 10 times more interesting than anything to me Tiger Woods does. The only time Tiger Woods is interesting is when he's getting his ass in trouble.
And getting hit with a golf club by his ex-wife.
Jesus. God. I do agree. Let's lighten up and have some fun. But again, I don't like the drunk idiots.
No, there's a line that has to be followed.
I do believe in the fact these golfers, It's a mental game. It's a mental situation. I do want to see them focus and be their best.
Yeah. I don't want anything shouted in the middle of a shot.
Exactly.
Before and after. Preferably after.
Yep. All right, kids. The third segment will be dumbasses, and more dumbasses. Triple play, double play. Oh, we got all sorts of stuff for you coming up.
That's right. Stay tuned.
Stuck in a no-win situation? Wife being held captive while your feet bleed? Take a second to decompress. Pull out your smartphone and listen to Sports Frenzy 2.0 on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, Overcast, and Castbox. And don't forget to check out their Facebook page. The Maestro and the Conquistador will take your mind off your dire predicament and give you the best non-PC sports commentary you'll find anywhere. And once you compose your exit strategy and take down some German terrorists, you'll want to yell, "Yippee-ki-yay, Sports Frenzy 2.0! Hey, everybody, welcome back to the final segment of this week's Sports Frenzy 2.0 podcast. I am the Maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the Conquistador, Dave Height.
Taping here on the 1st September 2021. This will hit on the 2nd. I would be remiss on behalf of myself and the Conquistador if I did not wish you guys a happy Labor Day weekend.
Yes, do enjoy that lovely 3-day weekend coming up.
And remember to check out our weekend edition, which, well, this week won't set you off on the right foot.
No, it's kind of...
But let me take the stress. Let me take your anger. I will express it for you. I don't care about cancel culture. They can come get me. I don't care. Everything I say, I believe in. I'm not a pansy. I don't back down. Wait for this weekend.
It's a big one.
The regular Sports Frenzy podcast available Spotify, Anchor, Google, Apple, and everywhere you get all your fine and wonderful podcasts other than ours.
Leave a comment.
That's right.
Give us a rating.
Do something. Do something.
Let us know
positive.
You're out there, please.
There's enough negativity on this show.
Yeah, that's right.
So do something positive for the world. Of course, now, what a wonderful segue into an entire segment about the Red Foreman dumbasses of the week in the world of sports.
That's right. The way these people have screwed up their lives this week, death would be a sweet release.
And anybody out there who ever saw our old cable access show knows that is the Red Foreman quote that we used to introduce this segment on television.
Yes.
Now, we got a little bit of a baseball theme here going for the dumbasses this week.
Not all of them are baseball related.
But we got a triple play involving one certain team. Not one, not two, but three different things.
Yep.
We've got a couple double plays. Not one, but two things to circle around and point out for a certain television network that we despise and a certain
college football team that's out there.
So I'm going to let Dave start off with the big topic of the week, if you guys couldn't have figured it out.
We have to go to New York and the Mets with Javier Baez dragging his, I don't know, idiot friend with him.
Now, see, I've heard it both ways. I've heard Lindor's the problem. I've heard Baez is a problem. As a Cubs fan, I could see this coming a mile away with Baez.
Baez, I believe this started with Baez taking offense at being booed, going so far as to say, well, if the fans are going to boo me, when I do something good, I'm going to give them a thumbs down. Wow. Real frickin' mature there, Javier.
He is the typical athlete nowadays. He and Lindor both. They are the typical
entitled little
20-somethings making tens and hundreds of millions of dollars in Lindor's case.
Who can't take any criticism. Sorry, it's a fan's right. As much money as you're making.
You know what I just realized, Dave? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I have the perfect person for them to go talk to. They need to get Naomi Osaka's phone number. That just came to me.
She can hook him up with her therapist.
God, is that got to be the worst therapist in the history of the world, or what?
Yeah. So anyway, these two Mensa rejects got called out by their ownership and everybody above them, manager. We will not tolerate this. The fans pay to get in. They have every right to express their displeasure at poor play. And now these two guys have had to backtrack. Oh, okay, whatever. And they still don't freaking get it.
They issued a quote-unquote apology.
But they don't get it.
Which sounded maybe partially sincere.
Yeah, it was written for them to read, I'm sure.
But that's only the first dumbass for the Mets. The second dumbass, even though in this initial incident he came out looking really good, he turned around and made himself look like a dumbass. It's Sandy Alderson.
Yep. After taking these two to task, he comes to Javier Baez's rescue.
Because, of course, Javier Baez lost his earring at the end of a game recently, about a day after this whole booing fiasco.
Gee, is that karma biting him in the ass?
Everybody's got to come out and try to help Javi find his precious earring, including Sandy freaking Alderson.
No. Dude, stand by your principles.
You sit there and you actually act like you got a pair, and then you hand one of them right back to Javi by helping him look for his precious earring. I would have stood there. I would have stood there if I was
laughing my ass
with my
off.
arms crossed and just shook my head. I wouldn't have gotten within 20 feet of the quote-unquote search area.
Yeah, nope. I would have stood my ground away from that one.
Yeah. But that's not it. That's only the second. Because we got to complete the triple play.
A third. Because now their acting GM, Zach Scott, after a party at owner Steve Cohen's house, gets pulled over and arrested for a DUI.
And if you kids don't remember, the reason why he's only an acting GM is because the GM they actually had hired to come in when Cohen took over ended up being a sicko pervert, and they had to fire him.
For all his sexual misdeeds with the females in the organization and elsewhere. Oh.
The Mets are the definition of a train wreck.
Yes, they are.
On the field, bad. Off the field, anywhere you want to look. Front office, players.
And it all started way back when they invested with Bernie Madoff.
Yep. Yeah, they actually make the Bears look like a legitimately well-run organization.
Oh, God, that's sad. That's truly sad.
All right, so now we move on from our triple play to our double plays. I will go first. I am calling out ESPN not once, but twice.
As is right and just.
Remember the whole debacle we had that we were dealing with and talking about with Maria Taylor, and then the Wicked Witch of the East, Rachel Nichols?
Yep.
And how Rachel Nichols accused ESPN of promoting Maria Taylor simply because of the color of her skin to promote diversity, even though, as Rachel Nichols said, but they're trying to make up for the mistakes they've made in the past because they haven't been any good with diversity anyway, blah, 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 blah. So, Maria Taylor says, see ya.
Who, as we have said, is by far the most talented of those two.
I would go so far as to say she might be the most talented or one of the most talented female sports broadcasters out there.
Yes, very much so.
I don't want to disparage some of the other ones, so I would say one of the best.
One of the best. She is. She deserves to be there.
Rachel Nichols, I have never liked Rachel Nichols. Rachel Nichols, I'm sure you sports fans out there who've watched any NBA have seen her. Everything's got to be hand gesture with her. She can't say anything without there being hand gestures. And she's always got to be so dramatic and so particularly pronounced in everything she says. She's an automaton who looks like the Wicked Witch of the East.
So basically, she should be doing any nightly newscast for any organization.
And I actually believe the first time she left ESPN, note I said first time, because guess what?
She left again!
Well, she was booted.
Well, yeah.
They screwed that up completely. So not only did they lose Maria Taylor, but now they've lost the Wicked Witch of the East, who can now maybe go back, like Dave said, to go CNN or CNBC or somewhere where she will be most welcome and wanted.
Yep, because she can spout her opinions in the most dramatic fashion possible.
But tinkers to ever's to chance. We've got another out to record here for ESPN to make it a double play. This one has been all over the news, but the fact that ESPN claims they were duped on this whole fiasco boggles my mind. You've heard by now the whole Bishop Sycamore scandal, this quote-unquote school that played IMG Academy on ESPN. ESPN, again, said they were tricked into broadcasting this because the coach of Bishop Sycamore claimed he had a lot of five-star recruits that college coaches were going to want to see, and the team was going to be fired up and ready to play this juggernaut IMG Academy. Well, it turns out the whole thing was indeed a scam. 58-0 was the final score. Bishop Sycamore, all the weird, idiosyncratic goings on in this. Bishop Sycamore, even though they're an online-only charter school, are fielding this football team that has only 5 wins in its entire school history. In 2020, they were outscored 227-42. And then they came into this game against IMG Academy on one day's rest after playing a game just the night before last.
Wow.
Now I didn't do a deep dive on this because in the end, I really don't care. The best thing about it is ESPN got screwed and looked stupid yet again. But the coach has been fired. This guy, he brought in a third-party consultant who kind of pushed the game on ESPN. There's some kind of, I think, an arrest warrant out for this coach. The school has had to cancel games now because of all this.
All right, my thing with ESPN being the dumbasses in this, they wanted to broadcast this IMG. I'm sorry. Stop doing the high school stuff. Quit ruining high school the way you've started to ruin every other damn sport out there. 2, whoever signed off on this for ESPN should be fired for not looking into the background of both teams. Why do you not do the research to see if this is a good thing or not?
Especially Bishop Sycamore being brought in as a replacement or trying to fill a slot.
Yeah, they approached you to come in. Come on, do some freaking research.
This is typical of ESPN. They are so sloppy in everything they do now. They used to be the pinnacle. They used to be the be-all, end-all of sports broadcasting back in the late 80s and early 90s, and now look how far they've fallen. They are a joke.
They are.
And it's not coincidental that a lot of this stuff happened under the watch of the Rat when Disney took over.
Disney touches something and it turns to crap.
Yep. And again, check out the weekend edition. We'll have more about the Rat.
All right. The second double play here, I have to go to Wisconsin football. Not 1, but 2 freshman running backs are in trouble. Loyal Crawford has been outright dismissed because he got into a fight in the dorm and pulled a knife. Big no-no, dude. Sorry. And then they suspended Antoine Roberts. Okay, no word on what he's possibly done to warrant the suspension. That there's no indication that they were in the fight together. We just don't know. But these two have completely screwed up any potential they had.
On behalf of all Miami Hurricanes fans across the country, I would like to thank the Wisconsin football team for making sure that the Miami football team this week is not the number one crime-ridden college football program in America. Thank you.
That being said, wait till next week, kids.
Shut up, Dave! Did you hear Alabama, by the way? The Alabama-Miami game? Alabama, a couple Alabama fans threatened to kill a Miami fan because of, like, again, I think it's some social media trash-talking crap.
Quit getting butthurt, people.
Such a sensitive society we live in. Such a sensitive society.
Get over yourselves, for crying out loud.
I mean, let's talk about Nick Kyrgios. Who is Nick Kyrgios? He's a mediocre professional tennis player playing in the U.S. Open, but he really isn't expected to go far. He really doesn't do much. He's not winning majors, you know. Supposedly, he's got a bad attitude in general. He's had problems before, but now Nick didn't like the fact that he was told where to place his towels, you know, when he's wiping off his sweat, because he was told you got to keep him out of the line of sight of your opponent when you go back out and play. And he threw a freaking hissy fit and started screaming at the head judge.
Oh, God.
How dare you tell me where to put my towels? Don't you have anything better to do? Blah, 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 blah. Another typical entitled wuss bag.
Dude, come on.
Just, you get to play a game for a living. Just move your towel back a couple inches to make everybody happy.
It's not rocket science. Quit drawing attention to yourself, you self-wannabe prima donna.
Yeah. World that we live in, awesome. Just awesome. Note sarcasm.
Oh, God.
Now let's move on. More idiocy where sports and society collide. Eatonville High School in Washington State.
Oh, God. This is a disaster.
Their athletic department decided it would be a good idea to make sure of COVID protocols to just go ahead without parental consent and put ankle monitors on their athletes.
All right. There's a lot of issues with this. A whole hell of a lot of issues with this. The first being, they have no freaking right to do anything like that, especially with kids underage. To not even consider asking parental permission. That's secondary. This whole 1984 crap is ridiculous, a complete travesty, trampling on their civil liberties.
100% agree. Couldn't have said it better myself. The sad thing is, this isn't probably even close to the only example. This one got headlines. This one got on some major news websites. There are probably scores of other examples. There's stuff going around in our school communities, in our area, where these school communities, these school boards think they are Lord God rulers of the free world. They really do. They think their poop don't stink. And they're going to tell parents, students, and anybody who gets in their way how to think, how to live, what to do, when to do it. And it needs to stop.
There's lines that do need to be drawn.
It needs to stop. I've seen instances out in California where they've been verbally abusive to the parents.
That's unacceptable.
You said it a couple minutes ago. Stop getting your panties in a wad. Settle down. Priorities. Yes, education is important, but pick your battles. Not everything has to be a war that you have to win.
Yeah, the ankle monitors are absolutely ridiculous. Now, masking in the schools, because not everybody's vaccinated, because some of the kids can't be. I actually think it's a good thing to have the kids in the mask to be able to be in school. Otherwise, you can't have another freaking year of home education, online learning. That's an absolute disaster in and of itself. Suck it up, people.
Yeah, I know we're getting on a tangent here, but I want to back you up on that. I was hearing some stats today where childhood obesity is up. I mean, because they were stuck at home for so long. Adult obesity is up. The average adult has gained 10 to 15 pounds since COVID lockdown started back in March and April of 2020.
Yeah, I can believe that.
It's a tightrope. It is a very, very fine line, a fine wire we're walking with this whole thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel one way, sometimes I feel the other way. It is a tricky situation. But putting ankle monitors on kids,
that's bullshit.
That's a non-starter.
Completely unacceptable.
Speaking of non-starters, let's talk about the Belgian Grand Prix.
Oh my God.
The latest F1 race and a huge disaster for F1. Max Verstappen won the Belgian Grand Prix. And you're probably out there going, okay, Kev, big deal, number one. Nobody cares about F1 except a few people. I do know a couple F1 fans.
The problem is there was no green flag given.
2 caution laps because of heavy rain were run. They couldn't, even though they can run on rain tires, it was just too much. And we saw that earlier this year with NASCAR, too.
Right.
Even with the rain tires that was COTA, right? Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, where it was that abject disaster.
Yeah, where they had to stop the race, but at least they had run a decent chunk of the race before they called
it. They tried to make it. This one never should have even started. You cannot run 2 caution laps and call a race and declare a winner when nobody had a chance to try and advance a position. That is no way to run your organization. Completely unacceptable from F1.
I told you, kids. I told you we'd have a full segment of simple, stupid dumbasses. And we pulled it off.
Yep. I mean, this is worse than anything that had ever been done by Bernie Ecclestone when he ran F1. And he pulled some dumbass moves during his time. Ugh.
All right, don't forget to check out the weekend edition. As I mentioned, I will be going nuclear. I will be going postal. Whatever term you want to use for somebody.
I've got the defibrillator ready.
Who's going to have their blood vessels pulsing out of their temples for a good hour and a half while we do that one. Check it out. It'll hit this coming Saturday morning, September the 4th. And
again, have a happy Labor Day.
Right. Next week, as we mentioned, will be our football, huge pro football preview, where our week 1 picks, we'll have them, along with our week 2 college picks. We'll have some more fantasy talk. We will have
we could have multiple football segments.
Yeah, kids. This might be a short episode for us this week. Once we get pro and college football going, and baseball, and the Cup playoffs, we might be going 4 segments for a while. Because as Dave said, we could fill up 1 segment just on college football, another one just on pro football.
Easily.
So be sure to check us out every week now until the end of the year and into January and February for football. Of course, we will not neglect baseball.
Nope.
We will not neglect NASCAR.
Hockey's coming up. We'll give you some tidbits throughout that.
Yeah, nothing. This is the first week in quite a while we didn't have any hockey news.
No, the big news is the Blackhawks extended Connor Murphy with a 4-year extension.
And no moments of silence, thankfully, this week.
Thankfully.
So, very happy with that. So, while there was no hockey news for the first time in a while, also no moments of silence, which is very, very good. But again, thank you very much for tuning in. Check out the weekend edition. I'm the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the conquistador, Dave Height.
Once again, for the final time, have a fantastic Labor Day weekend.
Be safe.
Don't drink and drive. Stay home, drink and do a podcast. That's what we do. Again, I can't emphasize it enough. Check out the weekend edition. This will be a classic.
Full meltdown.
I will vent for you on Hollywood for a full 15 minutes. I will not let them up to get a breath in. I will pummel them. I will pound them. I will subjugate them. I will make them my bitch.
I was going to say you're going to make them your gimp.
Believe it or not, there might be a reference close to that on the weekend edition. Part of my rant. Very, very astute on your part to figure that one out. That might be part of my rant.
All right, kids.
Take care. We'll see you next week.